This is the Share a Voice podcast, presented by Look Left Marketing. In each episode, we talk to the smartest B2B leaders to tackle the most pressing marketing challenges. Here's your host, Look Left Senior Vice President, Jennifer Tanner.
Hi, everyone. Today I'm joined by Kristin Grimes, Field Marketing Director at Sentra. Kristin has been in B2B tech marketing for about 15 years and has extensive experience in field marketing, specifically for cybersecurity. Thanks for joining us today, Kristin.
Sure, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so recently I saw that you had posted about hosting an amazing sales kickoff for your company. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what made it impactful?
Sure. So I started at Sentra about 7 months ago and was tasked with planning our sales kickoff. We ended up having it mid-February in Athens, Greece, which was not only a challenge to plan from here, but it was incredible. It was incredible. We got to fly the entire company over. Sometimes, especially with startups, it's different whether you just have a sales kickoff or a company kickoff. And we were lucky enough to have both.
Amazing. Why are these events important to companies, especially startups?
Yeah, I think for startups, it certainly is a morale boost. When we start the planning for these, I always like to come up with 5 key things that we want to accomplish. Start from the end. Like, what goals do we want to achieve while we're there? Definitely morale. It's a great relationship builder, especially everyone's working from home, right? So being together, not only education-wise, but then we always do some team building exercises and really keep the energy high at these events.
So how would you align the sales kickoff with the company's overall goals for the year, especially in the fast-paced world of B2B technology?
Yeah, great question. I think that when we go into these kickoffs, it's really all about what we're going to achieve that year. For example, one of the main messages that we, throughout the time we were in Athens, was execution. And the great thing is, even though it was 2 months ago, we're using that word for everything that we're doing. There's a lot of repetitive things throughout the year that come out of a sales kickoff that are really important.
How productive were the conversations during sales kickoff? Did anything interesting come up that is a common topic or theme during a sales kickoff?
I think, generally it's always about what the goals are, right? There's certain things that you have to talk about, like what are our revenue goals? What are our customer acquisition goals? There's always the competition conversations that you're having. And then the strategy, like how are we aligned as an entire company with the same things that we want to achieve throughout the year?
Awesome. Let's talk through planning a sales kickoff. You mentioned that was one of the first big tasks when you came in 7 months before. What are the different aspects that need to be addressed? Where would you start? What stakeholders should be involved in planning?
Obviously, ideally, a year in advance is great, but that never happens. We always think it's going to or say it's going to, but it doesn't. Although I did just schedule out our QBRs. So again, like a sales kickoff wraps other events in it as well, right? So what we do at the sales kickoff, we want to repeat at the QBRs. So I've just built out the calendar for the rest of the year for that, and then put down when we're going to have our kickoff for next year, which seems so crazy because I feel like we just got back from Athens. So I think, the first thing is to pick a date, right? And if you pick it far enough in advance, then you're pretty much guaranteed that the entire company can go. You hate to have these events and have people miss it. So pick a date. It's always the executive team. I always get the executive team involved, their buy-in. And then a location, obviously, is important. For us, when I started planning the one in February, I think I had sourced about 25 hotels in the U.S. And then we decided that we were going to go outside the U.S. So you have to be very flexible. There's always changes based on different things. So getting the executive team involved, their buy-in, those 5 goals that I talked about, we have to start there because that's how you build the agenda. And that's obviously one of the most important and the most difficult tasks. Everyone has an opinion. So if you stay aligned with those 5 things, you can keep everyone in the same lane, which is great.
A couple things that you mentioned were education during the kickoff and also getting motivation going. How do you balance those two things, making sure that they learn what they need to be prepared and equipped for the year, but also get really excited and not just feel like they're sitting in a classroom, maybe.
Yeah, it's super important. This is my fourth startup that I've had the opportunity to plan these kickoffs, and everyone comes at it with a different school of thought. Some startups have said, if we're going to fly the whole company over, we're going to spend 3 days and we're going to spend from 8 in the morning until 5:30 at night.
Whew.
Um, I have to say that this one, from that aspect, was perfect. We were not in a classroom the whole day. There were sessions, but we had ample breaks. We had an hour for lunch. And a key thing that I've always used is an MC. We had an MC. He's a magician. So in between each session, we brought that excitement and that liveliness. So it really didn't give people the ability to fall asleep. And then the evening activities, like we really tried to do some fun things. So it wasn't like you were sitting in a conference room all day and then sitting in a restaurant for 3 hours at night.
Yeah, that's great. How would you measure success of an event like this? Should there be specific metrics involved, or is it just how people feel afterwards?
Yeah, there certainly aren't KPIs for these events, unfortunately. So yeah, I think it's the overall feeling you get. I think because I've had the experience of doing it so many times, you really know. I mean, I knew when I was leaving Athens that we had killed it. All of the people that had worked so hard on this event, the executives were super excited. The salespeople were excited, the engineers, the SE, every person that had come really left feeling that being at Sentra was a gift. And that's what you want people to leave with.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned also that your kickoff should align with QBRs and things throughout the year.
Mhm.
Do you have any particular strategies to ensure that the momentum that you start with continues?
Yeah, I mean, I think pulling in, again, we're hiring so fast that I think we have probably 3 or 4 salespeople that unfortunately weren't at the kickoff. So I've made it my goal to make sure that the successes that we had at the kickoff are achieved at the QBRs as well. So I want these people to, whether it's the educational aspect of it, some of the topics we covered will carry over there, or, it's some of the fun as well.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the fun things that you've done, maybe at Sentra or other sales kickoffs, just to
Okay.
lighten things up?
It's always about the fun. So the MC, Lior, he also does a magic show. So if we have an
Yeah.
evening activity, he's done that. This time we did get to know your colleagues. So we had bingo cards with
Mhm.
questions. The questions ranged from who is a morning person, or who has run a marathon, or who owns a dog. So you had to go around and ask people and fill up the bingo card. So that was a great way. We did that this time the first night. It's always fun. I always on the first night of a sales kickoff, so it's a travel day for most people, to have just a very laid back cocktail reception with some sort of activity or game for people to get engaged in. And thankfully in our industry, everyone's very competitive. So the winning prizes are always super important. Scavenger hunts, I did a scavenger hunt at a kickoff in Tel Aviv. We also did one here in Athens. Another fun way to not only learn about the culture of where you are, but also compete and be a part of a team.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, if a marketing leader is maybe planning their first kickoff event, company kickoff, sales kickoff, they're new to maybe cybersecurity, like what should they have in mind in terms of getting started?
Yeah. I mean, again, from the logistical side, the date and location are super important. And then really looking at the agenda, having those end goals, and how do you align the agenda with achieving those is super important. And then every marketing leader definitely has a sales rep or 2 or 3 or 4 that they really trust. So I'll often run things by those people just to get a pulse on, are we doing this the right way? Are we covering the right topics? Everyone wants to have an opinion, so you have to be careful. But again, once you have those goals and you align with them, it's easy.
Are there any emerging trends in cybersecurity or general trends that should be on the radar for sales teams, marketing teams this year? And how can that be woven into your event strategy for the year?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, right? So the whole AI push has been huge. I know internally for us, We spend a lot of time using ChatGPT for various things, and I'm still on a learning curve there as well. I'm surprised every day the things that we can use ChatGPT for. So, yeah, I think it's also, from my perspective, from an events perspective, I think we're coming full circle after COVID. People want to get out of the house and they want to have these face-to-face relationships. So I think from a sales perspective and a marketing perspective, it's getting out there and meeting people and being in front of people. So it's been really nice to see that shift again.
Yeah, that's great. I know that it's really exciting to get out and see people face to face and reconnect. It's a different level of being in touch with people.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah.
So sales kickoff season, I suppose, is behind us. People have kicked off their years, even if their fiscal year is different than the calendar year. So what's one action that our listeners could take today to help continue momentum throughout the year?
Yeah, I think it's just making sure that you're repeating those messages that you focused on for the sales kickoff. My example earlier, the company's going to be sick of hearing the word execution by the time we make it to our next sales kickoff. That's my goal. And the themes that we talked about at the company kickoff, and really just making sure that, again, it's mostly for the sales team and their momentum. So making sure that they're aligned with all of the education and all of the sessions that we were put in. We actually have recordings of all of our sessions, which is extremely helpful. So a lot of the new people, although they couldn't be there in person, and they're able to see what we did.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your insight and sharing your tips today. We appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This has been the Share a Voice podcast, presented by Look Left Marketing. Subscribe today at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more B2B marketing insight, visit us at lookleftmarketing.com.